especially me.
Especially my co-facilitator. So welcome. Welcome to Wiser and Wilder, Women Rocking Our Creativity, Women Over 50 Rocking Our Creativity. And I'm Emily Trinkus here with my good friend and colleague and inspiring creatrix, Lisa Sonora. And I just want to let you know what to expect for the next hour or so that we're gathering here. Lisa and I are going to talk about why we're doing this, like why we think it's so important, necessary, crucial for women to over 50 to gather together and create, and talk about our inspiration. And we're also going to share some inspiring stories of women artists and writers over 50 who are rocking it. So we want to dispel the myth that it's too late to create. And then we're actually going to do some writing together. So be sure to have a notebook and pen handy, or whatever you like to write with. And we'll also have an opportunity to share our writing. So we want to give you a taste of what we do in person in writing workshop and writing retreat. And then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about our upcoming Wiser and Wilder Women's Creativity Immersion Retreat in Oaxaca, Mexico, where Lisa lives. That's going to be in September, and we'll answer any questions about that too. So I was just in Oaxaca last month. Lisa and I co-facilitated a retreat, and Natia was there, and we had an amazing time and got really excited about doing more, collaborating more. So I woke up one morning near the end of the retreat, or maybe after the retreat, and just had this full picture of Lisa and I offering a creativity immersion for women, where I'll facilitate the writing, Lisa facilitates the visual journal, we'll do some movement. That had the schedule worked out, totally clear. And so I told Lisa, and she loved it and said, how about if we offer this just for women who are 50 and older? And I completely love that. I'm turning 50 in September, so just before the retreat. And so Lisa, why? What inspired you to want to do this just for women 50 and older?
First of all, I just want to say it feels really edgy to do this for some reason. And when I get that feeling of this is something a signal I've paid attention to in my creative life, that if I'm terrified and excited about something, it's something to pay attention to. And especially the terror, it just feels outrageous to say, hi, I'm over 50. You know, we're told to do the opposite. I mean, I've had people tell me, even when I was much younger, you know, you're not supposed to say your age. I mean, I don't know who decided that. So that feels edgy, just to come out and say your real age, or, you know, how old you are. And the other edgy thing is, I don't know, when I turned 50, and I just turned 50 a couple of years ago, I'm 52 and a half, I think, officially now. When I was turning 50, I had this panic, sort of, oh my God, I don't have that much time left. And there's so much more I want to do. And I don't know why I think I've always been a little bit worried about the future or whatever. But then now it just seems like time, or at least how I was thinking back then. I'm not feeling that way now because I had a turnaround. But I just started feeling sad and anxious about the lack of time that I was perceiving was available, and how many things I still wanted to do that I haven't done yet. And I think one of the things, so then I started just looking back and saying, well, what has my body of work been? What have I been really occupied with? You know, just sort of as a review a review, what do they call those? A retrospective of what I'd done so far. And so what I did was I created a whole body of work that was really inspired by and came out of my own healing process. And the truth is, I spent most of my adult life, or even my teen years, really healing from a lot of trauma, and I used art to do that. And then I was doing my work in the world, but I've always had this sort of kind of parallel path, if you will, that's been very consumed with healing and just trying to feel okay about what I was doing. And maybe that's something that has to do with age, I'm not sure. But I worked a lot on my confidence, tried to have audacity. That didn't come till my 40s. I still sort of have to muster up the willingness to do it. And so I just started thinking, well, let me think bigger. Instead of thinking limited, what do I want the next 50 years to be like? They say you're supposed to set a really big goal. And, if you fall under it, you've still hit a big goal. So I'm like, all right, well, let me just think about the next 50 years. And that felt very expansive and full of possibilities. And so I just felt like another reason why is I've always really craved a peer group. I've always felt sort of on the fringe and on the outside of things wherever I've been at any age. And I thought, well, if I want to have a peer group of women my age or older who are kind of struggling with these things, I guess it's just up to me to start talking about it and the rest will follow. So I think that's kind of in a nutshell my thought process. And it just feels really daring and really edgy. I feel afraid of offending people who aren't 50 yet. And I don't want to alienate anyone. I'm trying to reassure people who are concerned that this is in addition to what I'm already doing for everybody. I think I covered everything that I wanted to say, let me say. But yeah, more than ever, I just feel like I have the energy and the wherewithal to just go for some really big creative dreams. And in my experience, it's just a lot more fun and there's more accountability when I'm doing that with other people. So I don't want to do it alone. I've done a lot of my journey really alone. And so like even collaborating. So that's like joining with others and really, trying to find my creative tribe now. Mm-hmm. And I just think, women over 50, it's a group, like whenever I'm trying to find photos or things about women in creativity, it's like young, skinny, model looking people or something. And I'm just like, where are we? We're just invisible in the media. So I have this sort of mission to make women of all ages, but especially women 50 and over, like give us some more visibility and to not be ashamed of whatever age we are. Like I just feel like what's important is what's on the inside and what we're doing and what we're feeling. Does that make sense? So, I guess what I'm curious, Emily, is a woman on the verge. Why is this a big yes for you? And as a woman on the verge of turning 50, how are you feeling about your life as a creative and your work?
Yeah.
What's coming up for you?
Thank you a lot. So there are two reasons why doing a retreat focused on women over 50 as creators feels really important to me. And one is more political and one is more personal. And so since you asked the personal question, I'll start with that, where I've spent the last 15 at least years really building my career as an astrologer. And I had a parallel path of leading creative writing workshops. I led creative writing workshops for about a decade. And I've just started doing them again. I've always had a dream of writing memoirs and putting my creative writing out into the world. And I can see I have several books I want to write. But for the last 15 years, it's been all about writing about astrology. I've been building my business. And I'm so grateful that I can make a living as an astrologer and get paid to write about astrology. That's awesome. And I feel like I really set aside my just kind of wilder, personal, exploratory, creating just for the fun of it. I set aside a lot of that in order to be, practical and focus on business and earning a living and those necessities. And I think that's very, women in their 30s and 40s are in that like mother stage, whether it's mothering kids or mothering a business. Like there's that sense of really putting a lot of energy toward building and what, earning a living and surviving and all of that. And I feel like I want to spend the next 50 years with a lot more freedom around my creativity and live my dream. It's been very easy for me to set aside my creative dreams to be practical. And I know I'm not the only one who does that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's on a personal level. And also that, even personally, as Lisa was saying, like we see so few images and role models with older women as powerful and as creators. And even just thinking about creativity, not in the sense of being even a painter or a writer or whatever, but creativity as having an impact in the world, doing something meaningful, doing something that's fulfilling for us and that has an effect in the world, right? And this is where women over 50 have become invisible. Women in the elder years, there's no, you're done, right? And particularly in the US, I think we have such a youth culture, a youth worshiping culture. But men can get older and be, dapper with their gray hair at the temples, and oh, they're so powerful,
George Clooney,
right? Yes, quite
Jack
dapper.
Nicholson,
quite dapper. But a woman who gets older is supposed to dye her hair. We're not supposed to have gray hair. We're not supposed to have wrinkles. We're not supposed to look
our age.
We're not supposed to look our age. We're supposed to lie about our age or just not talk about it. So I really want to break those taboos, because what our culture is missing is women with experience and wisdom and power wielding that power in the world. Our world is missing feminine values and the wisdom of having lived on the planet for several decades and having learned something that needs to be shared with the culture. I mean, this is, a bigger issue around the lack of elders in our culture, or the only elders we see are the cronies, the 1% male cronies who are running the show and obviously doing a really shitty job of it. So we know it's time for women to step up. And I think particularly we need us. We need to step up.
We need each other.
We need each other, and we need support to do that. We really need support to do that. In this past year or so, when I've been feeling the call, like I need to start my creative writing again, I started leading workshops in Olympia again, because I need community around my creativity. And I think we all do. We all need community, and maybe especially as women, this is about interconnection and support and being there for each other. So those are a few things. I see some comments coming in. The invisibility phenomena is real indeed. And Sherry saying, I definitely felt the same way for the early part of my 50s, but not anymore. Vibrant 55 plus women are everywhere. Yeah, and that's the other thing I've noticed is that, since I am an astrologer and do a lot of readings for women, 50 and older, and friends of mine too, just noticing that women in their 50s, it seems like so many are like just getting started, like just really owning their power when they get into their 50s. So while there's a part of me that's like, oh, I'm turning 50, freak out, blah, there's also a part of me that's like, I've seen a lot of women kick ass after 50, and I want to be one of them. Yeah.
Could that be a segue into a couple stories?
Absolutely.
Okay, so speaking of women over, well, let's just go. Wait, I have a couple quotes here. Okay, there's an artist. There's a Cuban artist. Her name's Carmen Herrera. And she says, don't be intimidated by anything. Now, I take her authority on this because she's an abstract painter. She worked on her art for 50 years, more than 50 years, before she sold her first painting at age, are you ready? Are you all sitting down? 89. So just think about that for a second. And she's like prolific and very, very interesting woman. You can Google her. We should make some show notes or something after this. But, and she's still creating. But she didn't really get discovered till she was about 90. So, but what really strikes me about that is when you think about the wherewithal, because a lot of us have been creating for a long time, but we're not famous or we're not published yet, or we're not noticed by somebody. But just think about what it takes to keep doing your art for 50 years before anyone buys something or recognizes you, or you have a show, or you've gotten something published, or you've finished the manuscript, And then the other, I shared this, I made a little quote and shared it on my Instagram today and Facebook. And this is by the novelist Annie Proulx, which many of you may not connect her name with the work. Many of her novels have been made into movies. So Brokeback Mountain, The Shipping News. I've read all of her books, love her. And I actually think the movies of her books turned out really well, which is really hard to do. But anyway, here's Annie's advice for us. I didn't start writing until I was 58. So if you've been thinking about writing, if you've been thinking about it and putting it off, go ahead. So why don't we take that, and this would be a good time to get out your pen and paper. And we're going to do just, I'm going to set a timer just for a few minutes. It's amazing the amount of writing you can do in a few minutes. And I'm going to give you all a little writing prompt thinking about Annie. Go ahead. Her idea. Let me just turn my little timer on here. I can't really talk and do anything else at the same time. Okay. So we're going to do a quick write, and basically you don't have to worry about spelling or punctuation or anything. This is just like a big let it rip out of your stream of conscious. It might look like a grocery list, which is awesome. So whatever you feel inspired to write. In fact, this is a really great prompt for a list. If it weren't too late, ... And so I recommend just writing that at the top of your page, if it weren't too late, and then just write whatever comes to mind.
How many minutes, Lisa?
We're already going. It's just a few minutes, like 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. So just take another moment to bring to a close what you've been working on, knowing you can come back to it. There's such an energy that happens when we have a time limit on our writing. And when we're writing with others with the opportunity to potentially read aloud. So, should we do that now? We want to read now and then we'll do another prompt and then invite others to read? Okay. I think that's what we... Oops, you're muted, Emily. Am I muted?
I'm sorry, I was reading, there was a question about astrology, which is interesting, I'll talk about later, but were you saying we should write again and read, or read now?
No, maybe we could invite some people to read what they wrote now.
Yes. Yes.
Would that be great?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you notice both Emily and I were writing while we were also facilitating. And our mentor, Pat Schneider, who we both took writing training with, she's both of our teachers. She's also an amazing elder. So we'll include a reference or a link to her work as well. But she believes in that the facilitators take the same risks as the participants. So in our workshops together, we also write while you're writing, and we also read aloud our first draft stream of conscious stuff that just came out as well. So you're not just out there on the own with us going, you know.
Good job.
So how do we know if someone wants to read?
So you feel free to unmute yourself, and again, you can scroll around with your cursor to, oh, and it looks like Phyllis has just unmuted herself. Phyllis, did you want to, let me find you here.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, there you are.
Hi, Phyllis.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
This is really interesting to me because I'm 71, and I did not pick up a paintbrush until I was 60.
Oh.
So when you said if it weren't too late, I paused and wrote, what I'm thinking is that it's not too late. Too late will be when I can neither see nor hold a brush or pen. The work, art I have produced in the last 10 years is enough for enormous satisfaction and love. Maybe as we get older, past 50, past 60, 70, our ideas of time and not enough of it changes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what happened. Whatever was on my screen had nothing to do with me.
That's okay.
We were seeing Janet moving about.
Hi. Thank you so much, Phyllis. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is someone else brave enough to read?
Kim? Okay. Kim, I just unmuted you, Kim. You are...
Okay. It looks like I'm unmuted. I see all the little green things flashing.
Yes.
I hear you.
Excellent. So I did end up having a list, and if it weren't too late, I would learn to paint again more better. I would go into a tech career and make way more money. I would dig in and really work to get published. I would be an artist. I would get married. I would be a photographer. I would have my own coaching and teaching business. I would lose weight and be sexy. I would get strong and then travel and walk through castles and glens and forests. So,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
all things I never let myself do and now it sort of feels too late. So this was really good. Thanks.
Oh, okay. And it's wonderful seeing your beautiful face. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Lisa.
So great. Do we have time for one more?
Let's do one more. Yeah.
Yay. Okay.
I see. Is it Lori or Kelly?
Yeah. If it weren't too late, I would fly. I would try. I would begin. I would rest. I would eat. I would sleep. I would take care. I wouldn't care. I'd be still. I would breathe. I would put my worries and misgivings to the side and step through them. I would put shoulds and have-tos to the other side and give myself permission to just be.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, I wish we could be here for a couple hours. I want to hear
I
everybody.
know, it's so good.
Okay, Emily, I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
Okay, taking the mic. So we're going to do another writing time, but first I want to talk about desire. So many of you may be familiar with Mama Gina, aka Regina Thomasauer. I did her mastery program. She runs the School of Womanly Arts in New York City, and I did her mastery program in 2016. And she is all about women, getting women into our desire, because of course we've been really suppressed in that realm. We're supposed to be taking care of everyone else. We don't want to be too greedy. We don't want to want too much. Like, a lot of us have been conditioned to really tamp down our desires and to make ourselves smaller, make our needs smaller. Oh, I'll just have one little bite of that. Right? It's not, like, we wouldn't, like, just eat the whole piece of cake in front of a first date or something. We're supposed to not want too much, not need too much for ourselves. And I know for myself, the older I get, the more in touch with my desire I've allowed myself to be. And again, like I was saying earlier, in the 30s and 20s, 30s, 40s, there can be a lot of taking care of kids, partner, job, career, just getting by, surviving financially. And then later in life, we have the luxury to go into our desire, which is really a necessity. I really love, as Mama Gina coaches women so easily go into complaint. We have such a culture of sharing what's wrong with our lives, right? When we talk to our female friend, oh, this, oh, that, wah, 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 wah. And Mama Gina's approach is all about shifting us into desire. Well, what do you really want? Can we talk about our desires? And that can be hard for us. I know for myself, it's been a process just to even know what I want. Because whoever asked me, what do you want? When did I get asked that question? Only very recently. Okay.
And you asked it of yourself.
I asked it of myself. So as we get older, like, when we care less about what other people think of us, and when we're more willing to go after what we really want, when we have that sense of time, like, why am I pleasing everyone else instead of pleasing myself and going for what I really want? We're ready to let go of that. We're ready to move toward our desires. So this prompt, again, we're going to write for just maybe like 4 minutes, the full timer here. And again, just whatever comes out. It can be a list. Suggestion is to keep your pen moving and just be surprised by what comes out. And again, just writing the phrase at the top of your page and let her rip. So the prompt is, the suggestion is, what I'm really craving, ... What I'm really craving. And again, just,
and you don't have to read out loud.
you don't have to read out loud, but you will have the opportunity to. So just take another half a minute or so and find a place to stop, knowing you can come back and write more.
I could have kept going.
Yeah, me too.
I thought, I really need to kind of ask myself that more often.
That's a good like daily journaling prompt,
Yeah.
right? Like, what am I really craving today?
Yeah.
Okay, any brave woman want to share that piece of writing? And maybe someone who didn't share in the first round? You can just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi. This is Susan, actually. It says Steve Gift because that's what my computer is named.
Ah,
So if you come up as your name of your computer, just so you know why iPad is here too.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Well, what I wrote was to throw my business away and just live by theater once again. To have more moments in nature and in lands I have not experienced. To be free to write and sing and dance and bring all the people I love into that world with me. Here's one of my favorites: to eat a whole New York cheesecake and not feel guilty. And then, finally, to be the spirit I was when I was younger, guided by the wisdom of who I am right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. You know, one of the things I love about hearing other people's writing, other women's writing, is that I get ideas. So as you're reading your piece, I was like, oh yeah, that. Oh, I want that.
Yeah.
I like that too. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Awesome.
I'd like to share.
Great.
Hi.
Oh,
Great, Erin.
hi. So I love this prompt, and I'm going to use it. I'm starting a daily drawing practice, and I'm going to use this prompt. What am I craving today?
Ooh.
I'm like so excited by that idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Is
what
there
I
a way we
wrote
can-
was,
Yeah, we want to follow you. So do you post your drawings or is it just private?
private right now, but I might. Yeah.
Okay.
I have, yeah, okay. So this is what I wrote. What I'm really craving is deep, luscious experiences, be they conversations, sex, creative time, or whatever. I want to get lost in the moment fully. I want to be all of me in the moment, no holds barred. I want my heart to break open and swallow the world, feeling deeply and surely with no hesitancy, no fear of getting lost, knowing that I won't break or look stupid or have regrets for exposing myself to the outside world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you so much.
Powerful. Yes. Annette, are you volunteering yourself?
I guess I did unmute myself. And I'm going to read because I just want to be brave. So
Thank
Good.
you. Yay.
Do it. Do it.
So what I'm really craving. I'm really craving space, breathing space. Time to think, time to relax, time to reflect, time to explore. Explore what I really am. What I'm really craving is wind and sand and sun, is healthy food and long kisses, is eyes meeting, eyes, lips meeting. What I'm really craving is cuddling and warmth, laughter and openness, and a relaxed body with no stress or condition. I'm really craving love and connectedness. I'm really craving appreciation and recognition, to know me, to know who I really am. I'm craving to be known for what and who I really am.
Oh,
Thank you, Annette. I felt that.
Yeah, I noticed, and I just feel like we could all put our hands over our hearts and just give ourselves love and compassion. and acceptance. So much of what I heard was what I wrote, almost exactly. So thank you.
Yeah, and this is very brave and very vulnerable. It's very vulnerable work to share something that just came out. We don't even know what we wrote.
Yeah.
Right? We're like, and to be, it's very courageous to be exposed at that level. So thank you so much for jumping in and sharing. And this is what we do, you know, in the workshop, in the writing workshop part of the retreat, except we have a lot longer to write and we get to hear everyone's writing and can go really deep with it. But you can get a sense just a few minutes, and we're online and we haven't even, introduced ourselves. We don't really know each other, but it's such a powerful process. There's such magic in writing in a group. And I really encourage you too, if you're wanting to do more writing, and there isn't a good community writing group where you are, to get a copy of Pat Schneider's book. We'll include it in the follow-up email, Writing Alone and with Others, and start your own writing group. It makes such a difference to have that creative community. It's huge. And I love all the comments coming in. What a supportive community. Beautiful.
Yeah, lovely.
And I know Tree had a question about astrology and this time of life, because there are two big astrological events that happen, one around age 50, 51, which is the Chiron return, which I'm coming into, and the second one is the second Saturn return at age 58. And I'm sorry that I don't really have time to go into it. It's a great question, and I have
maybe you could do a call. Maybe you could do a class about that, Emily. That would be so cool.
I think you're right. I'll do a class about that. But I'm not going to say much about it now because just in the interest of time. But thank you for asking that, and it's a great idea to actually do a class on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so thank you for writing. Thank you for sharing. Do you want to?
Can I say just some about I was going to talk about the visual journaling part of the retreat. We're actually a little bit ahead of schedule, so this is really good. We're cramming a lot into the hour, but in terms of the writing that we do together, what's really we do all first draft writing like this in the workshop. So we give prompts which you can use or not use. But if you have a project you're working on, like if you've been working on a memoir, or you're thinking about working on something, or you want to write for a blog or something, you can work on fiction. So if you have a project that you want to work on in September or not, this process works for all the types of writing that you're doing. And we do take longer times. Like sometimes we write for 30 minutes and then come back. And for myself, this is my favorite way to really jumpstart a book or any kind of big writing project that I'm doing that's hard, because I'm just there to focus. And it's amazing what comes out kind of in this container, as you've heard. We're creating this sort of compressed space of time and other people's energy. It just does something. Do you want to share anything about that for you, Emily, how that works in writing workshop?
Like I said, it's magic. There's something magic that happens. And I think, we can tend to think like, oh, I don't have enough time to write. This is a course, right? I don't have enough time to create. And then, there's so much power in setting aside just like a couple hours to write with other people, where in 5 minutes, like we just did, or in, 30 minutes or even a 15-minute write, we can come up with a lot of material. And I know for myself, like if I were sitting at home and used, tried to write something, just sit down at my computer and write something in 10 minutes or a half hour, very little comes out typically, unless I'm really like super inspired in that moment and on fire. But even if I go into a writing group, a writing workshop where I feel like crap and there's nothing I have zero inspiration, right? And somehow I'm transported into this creative flow. And I think there is something about that group energy field, where we're all focused, we all have a time limit, and we know there's the possibility of reading it out loud, which adds this kind of scary, exciting pressure. Something happens.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I just think it's important for people to know you can be an absolute beginner, or you could be, you know, a lapsed artist. Like, you know, I worked before and then I haven't, it's been so long, and it's like having the courage to say, I'm going to restart this thing. That's really huge too. Doesn't matter how long we've been away.
Right. And there's something too, but what I really like about this workshop model too, and again, this is Pat Schneider, the genius. She's now in her 80s, and she's just a phenomenal goddess, and so real and vulnerable. To have people at all levels of experience with writing, because whether you're a professional writer or you've never written before, we're always facing the blank page. We're always, and that's terrifying. And sometimes it's more terrifying when you have been successful in writing, right? Or when you, right? It's harder to like let go and just have fun with it. Like I know for myself, since I think of myself as a writer, and it's something I do professionally, like I have a lot more pressure on myself versus when I do visual art, where I'm like, well, this visual art isn't really my thing, so I can just play and have fun and be in the flow, right? So all of us can have challenges in coming to a blank page. It's pretty terrifying for most of us. And so to be held in a container where we're all doing that together, it's like, okay, we're jumping off the cliff together, you know. It's scary, but we've got support. We can hold each other's hands. Yeah.
Well, speaking of visual art, in the September workshop, I'm holding up a few things. And am I on screen, Emily?
Yes.
I don't know if am I on screen because I'm talking?
Yes.
Okay, so I should keep talking.
Keep talking.
I'll try to talk and do a show and tell. So we are going to create these, I call them wisdom journals. And what they are the like little pocket-sized journals. And they're very luscious and layered. You don't have to know what you're doing to make these. And I guide you all through a process of, I make these for all different things. You know, they're about the size of a greeting card. And then depending on how they're extensible, they're expandable. So you just can keep adding pages to them, because they're not bound. So it's a really type of way I work. I make travel journals like this too, but these are for, this is like one in process that I just started. So it's a very intuitive process. You don't have to know how to even use art supplies. But there's a quote that I've used already. I'm going to bring a dude in, but I think we can accept Carl Jung into our circle. He said, the soul speaks in image. And I've always been a writer and a visual artist. And for so long, in fact, this is, I think, the struggle when I was younger and not having real role models for what I was doing. I thought I had to choose between art and writing. And then there was a point, actually, maybe just 5 years ago or so, where I just decided I didn't want to live that duality anymore, even though I was like doing both anyway. But I just decided to let go of the struggle. And I'm still like stepping into what does it mean to embrace being both and not being like tormented about it. So the visual journaling process and creating a wisdom journal in particular, so when we're in writing, we are in the realm of the known because we're writing in our language. And language, in terms of our brain and how that works, you can't really write unless you're taught how to write. It's very analytical. It stays in the analytical side of your brain. Even though writing can be creative, it's still in that realm of the known. And where that really became clear for me that language was the realm of the known was when I was living in another country and couldn't speak the language. And so I would go to things and I would just sit there, mute, not knowing what was going on until I started learning words and learning the language. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is so true, because you can only talk about what you have the words for, what we have the language for. So when we're working with paint, or I should say playing with paint and art supplies, we are entering the unknown. And we're also confronting the blank page without language, without words. And so we're entering really into the realm of the imagination. We're entering into soul territory, to dream territory, because things are nonlinear. They don't have to make sense. You can just start with your favorite color and take it from there. And so we create these very rich, layered pages with collage and paint. We start on these huge sheets of paper, and then we work on both sides of them. I give prompts to guide everyone step by step through it. And all of it has meaning to you. I give visual journaling prompts, just like we did the writing prompts, so that you're adding images and maybe some little text and some color and design that is totally relevant to you, or, you know, very appealing to you, following your desire. And then we take these big sheets of paper and tear them up randomly and create the small book. So this started out as one giant piece of paper and then got broken down into a smaller book. And then you take the little book, and here's one that's sort of, that I started. You go home with something like this, but I started this one at our January retreat. And this is for my memoir, Driving and Crying. And then I started adding into the inside, you know, my contents. And then this is actually going to be filled up with different resources and inspiration for my book. And it becomes kind of like a talisman when at my writing desk. So, yeah, so we're making a wisdom journal in this workshop that has to do with who knows what it's going to, I was very surprised that this is what came to the foreground. I wasn't expecting that, but it's like, okay, it's like time, do it. And also, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say how much I loved the wisdom journal process that we did in January, and the adventure of it, and not like the way that you guide us through it. I have no idea. There's no linear plan in terms of what the outcome is going to look like. And it's just...
Even Virgos can do it.
Even Virgos, even 4 Virgo planets. Control, trust and surrender. But it felt so... yeah, it was just super fun. And then so fun to see everyone's own adventure and how different they were and how totally radically unique, but we all started with the same piece of paper and same materials. And yeah, it was just a blast. And I love that balance of being in writer mode and then being like a kid, just playing with art supplies.
Martha Beck talks about this in one of her books, about wordlessness. Oh, I think it was in her Finding Your Way in a Wild World. I'm really misquoting the title. We'll include that in the resources. Okay. But when that book was so meaningful to me, because she talked about wordlessness, and I feel like everything she's talking about in there regarding her experiences tracking in the African wilderness. And I also did a lot of trekking in the backcountry of Alaska, so I related to that. But I've often used my experiences in the wilderness and travel to talk about creativity. And she put the word on it for me that I didn't have, which was wordlessness. Like you're entering the space that you don't have to use our known language, which is incredible. Like it's hard to explain with words and it's completely experiential. If you've done this, if you've done it on your own or done one of the workshops with me where we visual journaled, you know how just astonishing and surprising it is to be like, I can't believe that came out of me. Where'd that come from? Well, it came from your imagination, and it's something we can't learn by reading about or talking about. We have to learn it by doing it. And the good news is it's really fun and kind of addictive.
It is. I can attest to that. And I think that I feel like, for me at least, there's been something about getting older that has been a lot about understanding that I know less and less, and getting more and more comfortable with the mystery.
Yeah.
I don't know if other people relate to that, but you know how to, in your 20s, you think you got it all figured out and you really know something, and then life happens and you're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. What do I know at all? Like the world expands and gets more mysterious, and there's this quality of surrender, I think, too, in our later years, right? And humility. So I feel like that creative process, and I think this happens both in the writing workshops, but maybe especially in the visual art and visual journal process. It's like this practice of following our intuition, following what feels like fun, following our desire in the moment, and having no idea where it's going to lead, and just getting more comfortable with the mystery and engaging with the mystery, and not being, sort of paralyzed by the fact that we don't know what the hell's going on and it's so mysterious, but instead moving toward it. So.
And having some tools. So creativity is a tool, and the expressive writing and the visual journaling, these are definitely support tools to be able to do that.
Right. Yeah. And again, in community, we're not like on our own.
Yeah.
It's very different. Very different.
So we're, I think this is the time, like, just to go over like what we actually do in the workshop and get questions from people about the September workshop.
Yeah.
Any questions about Oaxaca, or I'm going to look at some of the comments too. But we're going to do, we start our mornings. Also, well, let me just talk about Art House for a second, because someone just said it. They love seeing where I live. So we have our own private compound here in this beautiful historic center of Oaxaca City, Mexico. It's a 500-year-old city. It's a treasure. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And so the style of architecture here is there are all these walled compounds, like the secret garden. You're just walking down streets and you don't know what's behind the door. And then you come in. And so we have a little cafe on site that's just for our group. It used to be open to the public, but that's just now for Art House. And that's where we have all of our meals. Well, at least our breakfast and lunch. There are 5 rooms on site for participants. We have a couple, Emily's going to be in one room, so we have 4 rooms left. You can either book a single room for yourself or book a double. If you book a double, we'll match you with a roommate, so you can travel alone but still be in a double, if that makes sense. And then after those rooms are filled, then we have off-site lodging available. So there's a couple hotels, within the same block that we recommend people stay. And that works out really well. And you still come here for your breakfast and everything. We have our workshop space here on site. There's a big indoor-outdoor studio and a patio. And we start the morning limbering up a little. So Emily, we're going to do some dancing.
Yes, we'll just play music and dance outside.
Wake up.
Wake up and dance. And there's a question, Lisa, about the average temperature in Oaxaca in September.
Perfect.
She said she's challenged by heat.
Yeah, so September is one of the warmer months, but we're not in humidity. But it's probably going to be like in the high 70s. And I think weather.com would have really accurate information, like it could show a yearly. It's always, it gets warmer here from April through September, but not that much warmer. It's kind of the same temperature. If you are not in Fahrenheit, I've gotten used to thinking in Celsius, but I tell people, it's always 23 degrees Celsius here. And I think that's like mid 70s. It's heavenly. Yeah.
And Bernice is asking, do you fly through Houston? And I know you can go through Houston or Mexico City, right?
Yep, either way. Yep, Houston is the only direct flight to Oaxaca City from the United States. It's important to realize too, Oaxaca has 2 airports. One is in Hualtuco, that's on the coast. But we're in Oaxaca City, which is very far away. Don't fly to Hualtuco. We're up in the mountains. So we're in altitude as well. We're about a mile-high city like Denver. So it's high desert and just lovely. It cools down at night very nicely.
Yeah, and just to say too, so basically a day in the retreat will look like getting up, doing some free movement, just dancing, stretching, whatever, to music.
It's optional.
And that's optional. Then we're gonna write. Well, after we'll have breakfast and the food. Do you want to say something about the food? Because the food was really amazing.
You can tell. Okay. So otherwise I'll sound like I'm bragging. No.
I'll brag for you. We'll have breakfast and lunch at the Art House, and Lisa and I are both very food
sensitive,
diet conscious, food sensitive. So the meals are all gluten-free, soy-free, mostly sugar-free, mostly dairy-free, right?
Basically, it's plant-based free, plant-based free. And the reason we do that is because if you want to eat meat, there's lots of places to eat meat for dinner. And it's really hard to be vegetarian a lot of places, so we keep everything vegetarian and even vegan. So like at breakfast, eggs are optional. The cheese is optional at lunch. So it's just very considerate. And that to me was missing everywhere I traveled. I always felt bad. I taught in Italy, and I was begging for salads at all the meals. I'm like, there's so many vegetables at the market, and I was being, as a teacher, and for my people, and I was being served pizza. It's like, I can't eat any of this.
Yeah.
What am I? And I know that everyone thought, like the arrangers, the organizers were thinking I was being a pain in the ass. And it's just really hard to be that person going, shit, I really can't eat this, or I don't want to eat this, or like, all right, I'm going to go eat my apple, So we really can accommodate you, whatever the issue is. We can even make you hot cocoa with coconut milk and no sugar.
Yeah, so the food is delicious as well. If you don't care about the healthiness of it, that's why it's delicious. Delicious, lots of fresh local veggies, awesomeness. So lunch and dinner at the Art House, and then, like Lisa said, dinners. And every meal I ate out in Oaxaca was phenomenal. There's so many incredible restaurants within easy walking distance. So we keep dinners free so we can explore and try out different places. And a lot of times, people from the retreat will go together. You don't have to worry about being off on your own. So got sidetracked with breakfast and food, but so after breakfast we'll do a writing workshop for about 3 hours of writing together, reading out loud. Then we'll have lunch and a little free time, and then we'll have a couple hours of visual journal. And then later in the afternoon we'll do a little yin yoga. So I also teach yin yoga, and if you haven't done yin before, it's very gentle. We hold the poses for a long time, but it's mostly on the floor. It's not like we're holding some complicated.
No, you're like lying down in a twist.
Yeah, more like lying down in a twist or a forward bend. And so it's very relaxing and meditative and good for people who haven't done yoga before or aren't super flexible, but it'll help you get flexible. And yin is particularly good for aging, because as we age, our upper bodies get weaker and our lower bodies get tighter. And so the stretches in yin are mostly focused on loosening the hips and the low back, the spine, so loosening the lower body. And then there's also some poses that strengthen the upper body. So we'll do some gentle yoga in the afternoons, and then we'll have free time in the evening to explore and go out
Or
to
just
dinner.
hang out
Or
in the
just hang out.
studio. Yeah,
Yeah, or
order
spend more
a
time-
pizza and have it in the studio if you want.
Right. Or spend more time writing or working on your visual journal to be open
Yeah.
studio time. So that's the
Yeah.
basic setup of the retreat. So any questions?
You can unmute yourself as well.
Yeah, or write in the chat, either way. I know someone had a question about Mama Gina, and we'll send out a link in the follow-up email too.
Yes, the airport code is OAX for Oaxaca City. You know what we'll also do is I usually just give this to participants. I don't know, would it be helpful to get the Oaxaca travel info?
Maybe.
Maybe I should just create a post about that for everybody.
That's a great idea.
Then it's just there.
Yeah.
It's just like how you get to Oaxaca, how you pronounce it. You know, getting to the airport, and you know, it's all easy and really straightforward. So I think while we're waiting for questions, I'll just mention that lots of women that come to workshop, I've been teaching in Mexico since 2001, and more often than not, women are getting a passport for the first time to come to one of my workshops, whether it's in Mexico or in Europe. So if you haven't traveled internationally before, this is for you. Like, it's doable and it's easy.
Yeah. And you know, I was in Oaxaca with you in 2001, and that was the last time I had been out of the country until this January when I came to Oaxaca.
It's all my fault.
It's all your fault. No, so I had a lot of that, like, oh my God, I'm leaving the country, freak out. And it was all like so smooth and easy and awesome. And I was like, why don't I leave the country more often?
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Is that Natia?
I was just going to say, when I came to you in January last month, for the people that are listening and maybe thinking of questions, it was the first time I travelled from the UK to anywhere, really.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I have the chills.
Yeah, and it was amazing. So I would just say, if you're thinking about doing it, do it. Because the journey was incredible, and the workshop was incredible, and it's been I've made some big changes since I came back in January, which have been very empowering. And I think a lot of that is about the stuff that's going on for me, but it's also been crystallized by the work and the experience of doing the workshop. So I just wanted to say I've been there, and it was incredible to work with you, the two of you, and with Aaron as well. So if anybody's thinking about doing it, please do it.
Thank you, Nadia.
Maybe I'll come again.
Come again. Come back.
Actually, I have a retreat next week. Actually, there's one spot that is open. One spot. It's just for 8 women, and there's 7. But I'm having a workshop that starts next Friday. And someone coming to that is saying, okay, if I come, can I also come in September? So permission slips are granted to all, whatever you're wondering, the answer is yes.
Good to know.
Yeah. PJ had this great tip. Hi, PJ. PJ, how often have you been here to Art House? 2 or 3 times?
I've been there twice, and I'm coming in November.
Woohoo!
Great.
Yes. Yeah, she says order your passport now for September. There's a way to get an expedited passport, not in a week, unfortunately, but you can get one in a couple of weeks. And I'll have a link for that in the travel info as well. Because someone had to do that to get here for the March retreat. It's possible if you are organized.
And I see that Deb is unmuted. I don't know, Deb, did you have a question or comment? Maybe. I don't know. Or Helen, also unmuted. Maybe unmuted, not for
I want to say hi to Sabine, who's coming next week. Nice to see you.
Okay.
Anyone, well, okay, I guess that's it for Q&A unless someone thinks about something, but is there anything anyone wants to share just about this whole idea of doing a workshop for women over 50, you know, whether in person or online? Like how did this strike you when you heard about it? I'm just really curious.
Few people are unmuted. Go ahead and start talking. I think PJ?
Yeah, I really like this idea. But of course, since I was there in, what was it, January? No, last November, and I'm going to be there again this November, I'm not going to have the budget to do this workshop. So I'm hoping you're going to do it again next year, because I really, really would like to go to one of these.
Oh, okay, terrific.
Yay. We have that idea to do it again next year. We're going to see how this one goes, but yeah.
Oh, question about walking. Yes, it's totally doable. So one of the things we do is we have an outing, and then also I bring people on a little lay of the land of Oaxaca City walking. It's like, I guess, a walking tour, if you will, and just show you where some of the restaurants are, show you where we are. And it's all level. We have some cobblestones. But there's not like climbing up hills or anything. So it's very easy walking. But for people who have mobility issues, you don't have to do that part. And there are taxis everywhere. It's easy to take taxis. And then we went to one of the ancient monuments here. We have a big pyramid site here in Oaxaca, just like 20 minutes from my house. It's called Monte Alban. And the walking there was easy too. It's all like flat pathways, and then, some slight hills, but not like going out hiking or anything like that. So it's doable.
And someone's asking if there's a way to see or hear this meeting again. Yes, we're recording it. We'll send out a link to the recording in the follow-up email. We had a lot of people signed up who couldn't be here live, so they'll get a link to the recording. Yeah, that's great. And Jean saying, women of this age is who I mostly work with. What I'm really craving is this type of sisterhood, sharing, mentoring each other. Fantastic. Yay. Yay. Thank you, Jean.
And if you have anything you want to share with us privately, we're really open to that. So when we send out the follow-up email, you can respond back to that email. And we'll also include our email addresses in that too, if you just want to write to us directly and share anything.
And Tanya's asking about hotels, finding out about hotels. Yeah, so Lisa sends out, if you sign up for the retreat and don't want to stay on site, or if we run out of room on site, Lisa sends a list of hotels. So we can anyone use that. Yay, thank you for all the appreciation coming in.
I loved this.
Me too.
Is so great. And all of you made it possible. So thank you so much for participating.
Yeah, thank you for showing up. Good. And I love it. It feels very validating, because Lisa and I were so excited about this idea. And as she said, it felt edgy to put it out there. So it's really wonderful to get the hell yes.
Yes. More edgy. More edgy women.
Wilder and wiser. So we hope to see some of you in Oaxaca, and if not, again, online at some point. And we'll send out an email with some of the references.
The things we talked about. We'll round all that stuff up.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. This has been a delight.
Really wonderful to gather with you. Thank you, wise women, wild women. Mwah.
Wiser and wilder. Have a great Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.